Alright, hello everyone. Welcome back to week 18 of the Misty Meadows Moneyline predictions and whatnot that we've got going on. Obviously, it's just me today. Unfortunately, Riker has work, and we didn't have any time earlier in the week to record, so it's just me, sadly. If you see me looking back and forth between here and up here, it's because I have my laptop here and my monitor up here and my recording software is on the big screen. So just a little back and forth if I happen to do that. Real quick, let me just go over what we're going to talk about, what I'm going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about the current playoff standings going into the games starting this weekend, like prior to the games this weekend. We're going to talk about each of the games and then what each of the teams that still have potential for playoff spots or like wild card spots or division titles. We're going to talk about all of those. So it's going to be a really short one because there are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 teams that are eliminated. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams that have already clinched a wild card spot in the playoffs. So, doing a bit of everything, I guess. So starting off, we have the AFC playoff picture right now. Ravens are number 1. They've clinched everything. They've got the division and the number 1 seed. Number 2, Dolphins. They only have clinched the wild card. 3, Chiefs. They've clinched their division. 4 currently is the Jags. 5 is the Browns. I'm pretty sure they've clinched the 5 seed unless they lose tomorrow. And then 6 is currently the Bills. 7 is currently the Colts. On the AFC side, new teams that got eliminated were Raiders, Bengals, Broncos. I don't know if I mentioned the Raiders last week. I can't remember. And then on the NFC side of things, the 49ers, I'm pretty sure they have everything. I'm pretty sure they've secured the bye week. Because even if they lose, they have the tiebreaker over the Lions and the Cowboys. So the Cowboys are currently the 2, haven't secured the division, but they have secured a wild card spot. The Lions did win the NFC North. Currently the Bucs are in the 4 as they lead the NFC South. And then the Eagles in the 5, Rams in the 6. Rams have guaranteed that they're going. They're pretty much guaranteed to be the 6th seed unless they lose and then the current 7 seed wins and they go up. But and then the Packers are the current 7. I think the only new teams that were eliminated in the NFC side were the Giants and the Bears following their losses last week. Yeah, that's the current picture right now. And then the other teams that are eliminated, we've talked about them already. The Patriots, Chargers, Titans, Jets, Panthers, Cardinals, Commanders. So a bunch of those games, I'm just going to be like, doesn't matter, they're eliminated. But, yeah, starting off with the Saturday at 4, we have the Steelers at the Ravens. The money line is minus 170 Steelers, plus 142 Ravens. And the current spread is, I guess not current, but the spread when I looked at it was minus 3. The wheel chose the Ravens. Obviously, the wheel doesn't know that the Ravens have already secured the AFC title, so, well, not AFC title, but like the 1 seed. So, you know, something to think about. But the Steelers are 9-7, the current 9 seed going into Week 18. With their matchup against the Ravens, they are who have already clinched the division or the whole everything in the AFC. They have a couple of options, each of which really only guarantees a 7th seed because they are currently last that still have potential. Pretty much everything right now is going to be... Okay, I'm just making sure that I have Riker's picks. Alright, got it. Okay, pretty much guarantees 7th on either side. There's really not much that's going to change between 5 and 6, just depending on who wins their division in the places that are left. So a couple of options for the Steelers. If they have a win today, they need Buffalo to lose, Jacksonville to lose, or Jacksonville to lose or tie, and then or the Houston and Indy game ends in a tie. Then they go in to the 7th seed. If they tie against the Ravens today, then they need Jacksonville to lose and Houston and Indy to tie. Sorry, I'm like struggling to read this. I don't know why. With a loss, if they do lose, then they need Denver to win, and they need, again, the Houston and Indy tie. So they have like a lot of things that need to happen, but they could make it. And then the Ravens, this game doesn't matter for them. Rest the starters now and in the bye week, just take it easy. Ravens was the wheel pick. Riker says the Ravens. I mean, even if the Steelers win, it's not likely that they're going to make the playoffs. So they kind of like are, anything really goes for them, but they need a lot of other things to happen. So, maybe, but I'm going to go Ravens as well. So we're both going Ravens here. Saturday at 8 o'clock, we have the Houston-Indy game that I was just talking about. We have the Texans at the Colts. Money line is minus 122 Texans, plus 102 Colts, and then the spread is minus 1.5 in favor of the Texans. The wheel picked the Colts. So both of these teams have the potential to win their division, let alone make the playoffs. If whoever loses is pretty much out. So the Texans are 9-7. The Colts are also 9-7. So this basically the same thing goes for both teams. They have the potential to win the division. If they lose, they're out. But if the Texans win, then they need Jacksonville to lose or tie in order for them to get the division. Or with the Texans win, they need Jacksonville to lose, Pittsburgh to lose or tie, and then they make the 7th seed. So then they're in. So that's how they make the playoffs, even if Jacksonville wins. They need another win, and they need Pittsburgh to lose or tie to make the 7. Because the Colts are currently the 7. So they're also 9-7. They're in the same boat. For the division, they have to win, and Jacksonville has to lose or tie. Same thing. Or they can tie, and Jacksonville loses. The reason that is not the case for the Texans, if they tie and Jacksonville loses, the Colts would win the division, and then the Texans would be the 7, because the Colts have the tiebreaker over the Texans right now. For them to get the 7th seed, the Colts, they need to win with Jacksonville loss. If they tie, then they need the Jacksonville loss, and so they would have to. Three things need to happen for them to get the 7th seed. They win, and they keep the 7th seed, or they tie with Houston. Jacksonville loses, and Pittsburgh either loses or ties. So that's a bunch of options for these two teams because they're both fighting for the 7 and the division. Riker picked the Texans, and I agree. I think that's a good pick. They've got C.J. Stroud back. He played pretty well last weekend. I think they can do it. I mean, they're both fighting for division and the 7th seed. So, if they really wanted to, they would tie and then hope that Jacksonville loses. But probably not likely. So they may as well end in a winner. And then there's a couple games later that rely on these two games I just talked about to end in a loss or a tie. And there's a bunch of options because they're the 7, 8, 9 seed that are all playing tonight. So if they lose, then everybody else up ahead of them is pretty much guaranteed. And then they don't really have to stress too much, except for like the division games where they're fighting for the title. Moving into the Sunday games, 1 o'clock, we have the Jags at the Titans. Just continuing with the AFC South, I guess. Jags are 9-7. Again, all three of them are tied. Currently leading the AFC South. In order to win the division, they need a win, or they can tie. Indy and Houston game ties, and then they maintain the tiebreaker. If they make the 7th seed, they would tie against the Titans. Pittsburgh needs to lose or tie against the Ravens. That would put them in the 7th. That's one option. Or Pittsburgh loses, Denver loses or ties, and the Houston-Indy game doesn't end in a tie. So if they tie their game with the Titans, actually, this is if they lose. If they lose, then they need Pittsburgh, Denver to also lose. Denver can tie. Houston doesn't tie. Someone has to win that game. And then whoever wins that game would get the division in the event that the Jags lose. The Titans, they're eliminated. The only reason for them to play this game is to knock the Jags out of the division title. We'll pick the Titans. Riker also picks the Titans. Interesting. I was going to take the Jags on that, but I'm going to leave it marked as Titans since actually, no. For the sake of having a difference, I'm going to mark it as the Jags. Okay, next up we have the Vikings at the Lions. Money line is... I don't think I talked about the money line for the Jags game. Whatever, I'll put it in. Vikings Lions. Plus 160 for the Vikings, minus 192 for the Lions. Spread is minus 3.5 in favor of the Lions. The Vikings are 7-9. Their only shot is at a wild card spot at this point. They need a win against the Lions, and Green Bay and Seattle have to lose, and then either Tampa or New Orleans have to lose. So they need a lot to get into the 7. And then on the Lions side, they already clinched the division. They need a win here in both the. They need a win here, and both of the NFC East teams need to lose in order to get the 2 seed. Which, maybe, but unlikely because the Cowboys are facing the Commanders and the Eagles are facing the Giants. Next game on the list. Lions was the wheel pick, and Riker and I are both taking the Lions as well. Next up, we have the Browns-Bengals game. This is a pretty big one for the Browns, at least. Actually, I don't think it really matters, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because they've already clinched the 5 seed, right? They're 11-5. If they drop to 11-6, regardless of the outcome of the Bills-Dolphins game, they would be either 12-5 if the Dolphins win, so they'd be the 2, and then the Bills would be below them. And then the other way would be, they've clinched the 5. So good for them. Clinched the 5 seed. So they're going no matter what. They're going to be facing whoever wins the NFC or the AFC South. Sorry. And then the Bengals are eliminated. This game really doesn't affect anything on the AFC side of things. The wheel picked the Bengals. Money line is 235 Browns, minus 290 Bengals. Spread is minus 7 in favor of the Bengals. So might be a good showing, but it doesn't really matter. This doesn't affect anything. Wheel picked the Bengals. Riker picks the Browns. And because we have 2 different picks, it doesn't really matter what I choose because both are represented. But I think the Browns are going to do it as well. Next up, we have the Bucks at the Panthers. This is a competition for the NFC South title. Obviously not the Panthers, but it does matter for the Buccaneers. They need a win in order to maintain the title. And if they lose, then they're out. They don't. Only one team from the NFC South is going, and it's whoever wins their division, unfortunately. So they're 8-8, currently the lead, and they have the 4 seed. If they lose, they're out. In order to win the division, they can win, or if they tie with the Panthers by some miracle, then they need New Orleans to lose or tie. So then they maintain the tiebreaker. In order to get into the wild card, they would lose the division title with a tie. Then they need Seattle to lose, and they need Green Bay to lose or tie. So a lot needs to happen for them to get in. It's kind of unlikely. It's unlikely that they tie in the first place, so they may as well just win and get the division. On the other side of this game, the Panthers are eliminated. The only reason to play this is to knock out the division leader. Not sure if I went over the wheel or whatever for this, but the money line is minus 230 for the Bucks, plus 190 for the Panthers. Spread is minus 4.5 for the Bucks. And then the wheel chose the Bucks, and Riker and I agree. Next up, we have the other NFC South game. The Falcons at the Saints. Money line is plus 140 Falcons, minus 166 Saints. The Saints are minus 3 spread favor. The wheel picked the Saints. Riker and I agree. I keep switching back and forth, sorry. So Falcons are 7-9. They can only make it by winning the division. They can't make the 7th seed anymore. They would have to win, and Tampa has to lose in order to win the division. So they would be 8-9 as a division leader, which sucks. But the Saints are 8-8, currently the 9 seed. They can either win or get the 7. If they lose, they're out. For the division, they need a win, and they need Tampa to tie or lose. But both of those, they have to win, and then they need Tampa to go poorly. To get the 7th seed, they can tie, and they need Tampa to lose. So, in the event of a tie, if the Falcons Saints game ends in a tie, Tampa gets the... No. Yes. Tampa gets the title. Tampa gets the title if they lose, and then the Falcons get this, or sorry, the Saints get the 7. That doesn't make sense. Whatever. I'll put captions over that to make it make sense. Moving on to the Jets game. We have the Jets at the Patriots. Money line is plus 110 for the Jets, minus 130 for the Patriots. Patriots are favored minus 2.5. This game doesn't really matter. Both teams are eliminated. Doesn't affect anything in the AFC. They're both bottom of the barrel. Patriots have the worst record in the AFC. Jets are, I think, 13th place right now. Maybe 14th place. The wheel picked the Patriots, and Riker chooses the Jets. At this point, neither of these teams are fighting for anything, so I just avoid this one altogether. Moving into the 4 o'clock games, we have the Chiefs at the Chargers. Chiefs are plus 154. Money line, Chargers are minus 185. Chargers are favored by minus 3.5. The Chiefs clinched the division, so they don't really have to play for anything. That's why they're not favored in this game. And then the Chargers are eliminated, and the only reason to play this game is to potentially knock the Chiefs from the 3 to the 4. But they would need the Jags to also lose, I think. Because I think the records right now means that if the Jags win, Chiefs are 10-6, and the Jags are 9-7. So if the Chiefs lose, and whoever wins the AFC South, I think they would have the tiebreaker and potentially get the 3. I think. Maybe. Don't quote me. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, the Chargers really don't have anything to play for here. Moving on, we have the Bears. Bears at Packers. Money line is plus 140 Bears, minus 166 Packers. Packers are favored by 3, minus 3 spread. The wheel obviously picked the Bears. Riker and I are choosing the Packers and the Chiefs in the previous game. I forgot to mention that. So the Bears are eliminated. The only reason to play this game is to knock Green Bay out of the playoffs. They already have the first overall draft pick. They may as well just lose and get a second really good first rounder. And then on the other side of this game, the Packers are 8-8, the current 7th seed. They can't win the division, but in order to keep the 7th seed, they need any of 6 things to happen. So option 1 is they just win. Option 2 is they tie, Seattle loses or ties, and New Orleans loses or ties. All 3 of those things need to happen for the second option. Third option, they tie, Seattle loses, and Tampa loses. All 3 of these things need to happen. Fourth option, they tie, Seattle ties, and Tampa loses or ties. All 3 of those things need to happen. They get the 7. Number 5, Minnesota loses or ties. This is if the Packers lose. Minnesota loses or ties. Seattle loses. Tampa loses or ties. That is option 5. All of those things need to happen. Then for option 6, it's the same exact thing. Minnesota, loss or tie. Seattle, loss. And then it's New Orleans, has to lose or tie. And then they keep the 7. But if they lose and any of these things don't happen, then they're out. What'd I say? Bears, wheel, and then Riker and I are choosing the Packers. Broncos, Raiders. I'll tell you about it, but it doesn't matter. Broncos money line is plus 136. Raiders money line is minus 162. The Raiders have a -3 spread. Both teams are eliminated. Doesn't matter. I would stay away from this one because you never know how they're going to play. We'll pick the Raiders. We pick the Raiders as well. Not that it's like necessary to pick this game. You can just avoid it. Both teams are eliminated. It doesn't matter. Next up, we have the Eagles at the Giants. The Eagles money line is minus 245. Giants plus 200. Eagles are favored by minus 5.5. Eagles are 11-5. They have already clinched a wild card. In order to win the division, they can either win here with a Dallas loss or tie, or tie this game and Dallas loses. But playing the Giants, it's very unlikely that they tie. The Giants are eliminated. The only reason to play this is to knock away the division title from the Eagles. If the Eagles lose, then they get the 5 seed, and Dallas wins. Whether they lose or win or lose or tie, it doesn't matter because they have the tiebreaker over the Eagles. So the wheel picked the Giants, and Riker and I are taking the Eagles. You would be stupid to take the Giants here. I don't think that they're going to be playing very well because they don't have anything to fight for. And obviously the Eagles do, so they need to win. Next up, we have the Seahawks-Cardinals game. Obviously, there's a lot riding on the Seahawks losing this game. If they lose, then a lot of other teams have an opening. So the Seahawks at the Cardinals, minus 148 money line for the Seahawks, plus 124 for the Cardinals. Seahawks are favored -3 for the spread. So the Cardinals are eliminated. The only reason to play is to knock away the playoff spot that the Seahawks would have. They're 8-8 Seahawks, currently the 8th seed. They can clinch a wild card with a win or a tie. If they win, then they need Green Bay to lose or tie, and if they tie, then they need Green Bay to lose as well. So it's tie and Green Bay loss, and then they can either pray for the Buccaneers or New Orleans to lose or tie. So either of those two teams have to lose or tie. Green Bay has to lose, and then the Seahawks could tie with the Cardinals to get the 7. So many like weird things need to happen for people to make it, but honestly, just like win your games. Just win the games, and then you don't have to worry about all the other teams that whatever. But next up, we have the Rams at the 49ers. Rams money line plus 164, 49ers minus 198. 49ers are favored by -4. Rams are 9-7, and they have clinched the 6th seed. So then on the 49ers side, they're 12-4. I'm fairly certain they've clinched everything, even with a loss. I'm pretty sure they hold the tiebreaker over Philly, Dallas, and the Lions for the 1 seed. I'm pretty sure. The Cowboy. We'll pick the Rams. Riker and I are taking the Rams as well. Interesting. I mean, yeah, the 49ers may as well just rest their guys. It's not necessary at all. Both of these teams are pretty much going anyways. There's nothing really that can happen to knock the Rams out of this. So this game doesn't really matter. It's another one. It's like kind of, you know, don't put a lot on it. If you're feeling confident, go for it. But like, you know, whatever. Next up, we have the Cowboys-Commanders game. Last of the 4 o'clock games on Sunday. Cowboys-Commanders. Cowboys minus 850. Commanders 575 money line. Cowboys are favored minus 13. You would be an idiot to choose the Commanders. Please don't do that. The Cowboys were the Wheels pick and our pick. Obviously, like don't mess with it. Cowboys are 11-5, currently the NFC East leader and the 2 seed. They have already clinched a wild card spot whether they get the division or not, but in order to win the division, they have to win, or they can tie, and Philly also has to tie, or Philly loses, regardless of the outcome of the Cowboys-Commanders game. If Philly loses, Cowboys get the 2. And they won't have a better record in the event of a tie. So that's why they need Philly to also tie. But if they win, then they get it. Doesn't matter what happens. And so if they win, Philly loses, doesn't matter. Cowboys are going. They would both have to tie in the event of the Cowboys tie. Commanders are eliminated. Only reason to play is to knock away the division title. But then they're giving it to the Eagles. So like, you know, no biggie. Unfortunately, there is no Monday Night Football, so you're not going to hear me say it. But we got the Bills at the Dolphins game for the Sunday night game. This is the biggest one. Obviously, they flexed this to the latest game because it's big. It's huge. This is for fighting for the division, the 2 seed, and the Bills have the potential to not even make it if they lose. So obviously, as Bills fans, we're on the edge of our seats, but so Bills at Dolphins. Bills are favored minus 155 money line. Dolphins plus 130 and 2.5 spread, at least at the time. I don't know if there have been any updates. I'm not checking. And then so Sunday Night Football. Whoever wins this game wins the AFC East. In the event of a loss for Buffalo, they wait a minute. Oh, okay. So a couple things that need to happen for the loss. But first of all, if they tie in this event, Miami would win the division 11-5-1 over the Buffalo, which would be 10-6-1. So if they tie, then they don't win the division, and they need I think they would still be the 6th seed if they tie. But if they lose, then Pittsburgh needs to lose or tie. Jacksonville needs to lose or tie. And Houston-Indy game has to end in a tie. So that's three possible loss or ties situation to maintain a playoff spot. So on the Dolphins side of thing, they already clinched a wild card spot, but they need a win to clinch the division. If they lose, they likely end up in the 5 or 6, depending on the Browns' loss or win. Although I don't know if it really matters. But you know, either way, they're going either way. So Buffalo really just needs to win, and then don't worry about the other games. Obviously, they've already gonna have happened at this point, but just win. Just win the division. It's the easiest way to get in. It's the same thing every year. Just win the division. Makes it so much easier. And you got home games, and it doesn't really matter. But yeah, so that's it for us. Real quick, I'm going to recap all of the picks. So game 1, we'll pick the Ravens. We pick the Ravens. Game 2, we'll pick the Colts. We pick the Texans. Game 3, we'll pick the Titans. We pick the Jags. Game 4, we'll pick the Lions. We pick the Lions. Game 5, Bengals for the wheel, Browns for us. Game 6, we both picked the Bucks. Game 7, we both picked the Saints. Game 8, wheel picked the Patriots, we picked the Jets. Game 9, we both picked the Chiefs. Game 10, the wheel obviously picked the Bears, and then we picked the Packers. Game 11, the Raiders overall pick. The next game, Giants, Eagles, Wheels, Giants, us, Eagles. Game 13, we both picked the Seahawks. Game 14, we both picked the Rams. Game 15, we both picked the Cowboys. And then game 16, the wheel picked the Dolphins, and we picked the Bills. So that's everything for this weekend. Hopefully you guys are rooting for teams that are making it. And then if your team is already eliminated, at least you're stress-free. You don't have to worry about it. You just enjoy the game. But yeah, that's gonna be it for us. Well, for me. If Riker has any extra comments, I'm sure it'll be a pinned comment at the bottom of this video. But yeah, enjoy your weekend. Good luck to everybody rooting for their teams, except for Miami. Better watch it. Bye, guys.